One of the engineers I was recently speaking to asked me, Aditya, how do I disagree? So I asked him, can you give me a little more context? So he went on to explain how he worked super hard over the past 6 months trying to beat the estimates and over-deliver on his projects, which he did successfully. So at the end of the 6 months, he was going to ask his manager for a pay rise, if not appreciation. However, when he had this one-on-one meeting with his manager said, you didn't do anything super special. You did what you're expected to do. Those are your job duties. At that point of time, the engineer got so frustrated and he became very defensive and started arguing with his manager, which of course didn't go well. And that's why he wanted to find out how to disagree in such situations. My name is Aditya Gute, speaker and career performance hacker for engineers. And today we are going to demystify how to effectively disagree when the stakes are high in the conversation. Anytime there is a disagreement, the first step is really to understand what we are disagreeing on. Many times we disagree based on the assumptions and interpretations of what the other person is saying, which might not lead to a healthy argument. So instead, first seek to understand the other person before trying to be understood. This is a quote by Stephen Covey. Ask exploratory questions. What do you mean, manager? I have not overperformed. What is your scale of measurement in terms of deciding whether an engineer is overperforming, performing, or underperforming? Most of the times, when you understood the other person at a deeper level, the conversation is over. You might have realized that, well, the scale of measurement of overachieving on a project is different than what I thought it is for me. So at that time, all right, manager, I get it. I measured myself in a different way. I will make sure to meet your expectations on what it means to overperform in the next project I'm working on. Conversation is over, right? Or maybe what could also happen is your manager instead is missing some of the information. Maybe he did not know that you have achieved certain goals on the project and he's unaware of it. So at that point of time, it's your job duty to be really specific in what you want to communicate. So instead of saying, hey, I overperformed, I have overperformed, I put in a lot of time, which might not make much sense to your manager, instead be very specific in giving the answers that he cared about. Answers like, this project's deadline is due on June 30th, but I delivered it by May 30th and saved the company so many amount of dollars. That's the information your manager would be definitely interested in learning. Or maybe I have fixed this important issue in a very short amount of time and so saved the company so many dollars. Another piece of information that your manager might care about. So the second point is that be very specific and clear on what you want to communicate about. In summary, whenever there is a disagreement in any conversation, it is mainly because missing piece of information. So it is your job to be able to ask exploratory questions so you can understand the other person better and fill yourself with that missing information. Or if you find out the other person is probably missing the information, it is your job to communicate clearly with succinct words so that the other person can understand what that missing information is. Of course, it is easy for me to tell you that, hey, find out all the missing information and there won't be any disagreements. It doesn't work like that in the real world. Because in the real world, we all have emotions, and when we have emotions, we either tend to avoid the conversation altogether, or we tend to get into the conversation and have a huge argument, become self-defensive, and make the situation even more worse. Whenever we experience such strong emotions, it completely throws us off of our game plan. It's more about what's happening in here than what we say. So whenever you experience such strong emotions, the first step is to check in what the thoughts and feelings are behind these emotions that you're experiencing. Many times when I work with engineers and coach them, this is the kind of deep inner work that I do to help people understand what are some of the triggers, the thoughts and emotions that are triggering such strong emotions. And these thoughts can be different for different people. So it's up to you to find out what those thoughts are, and that's kind of what I mostly do with my clients. So I'll give you a few general thoughts that most people experience, and maybe you resonate with some of them or you don't. One of the common thoughts is that, hey, I have put in all this work for 6 months trying to over-deliver on my projects, and now it's a complete waste of time because my manager has invalidated everything that I've done. Very common thought to experience. I challenge you about the thought. Well, just because your manager has invalidated, it doesn't take away from the learning that you have experienced over the past 6 months. The client has still benefited from your project. You might have developed certain relationships because of how you have delivered this project. And only your manager can take away everything that you have created and learned over the past 6 months. So ask yourself how true those thoughts are, right? It could be different. Some other thoughts could be, maybe you might judge your manager that he is intentionally doing this to me. He is intentionally wanted to put me down so he doesn't have to give me a bonus or a paycheck. Or he doesn't like me. Again, I challenge those thoughts. How true is that story you're telling yourself? How is it serving you? When you go deeper and challenge some of those thoughts, understand what they are and challenge them, there is possibility you can shift them into the thoughts that are more empowering and helps you move forward. In summary, we have discussed 2 strategies on how to handle disagreements. We have also learned how strong emotions can come in the way of successfully implementing those strategies. And so how to address those strong emotions, which is more to do with things going on in here. If you have any more questions, feel free to drop in the comments section below or reach out to me on my LinkedIn profile. Happy to always connect and answer any questions you have.